Hi, I'm Robert, and welcome back to another edition of the High Deseret Ranch channel. Tonight it is a special edition of Truck Talk After Dark. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you for coming back. I really do appreciate it. Finished up with chores. Been a long day. They start early, they end late, but that's how it is. Calving season's over. I did a truck talk about calving earlier, and I want to do another truck talk video following up with the calving and just kind of paint out how it's going to be. But what I want to talk about tonight is something that if I've always been taught to live providently, and part of that is living within your means, and avoiding debt, being thrifty, and having food storage. And I've been counseled to at least have a minimum of a year's food supply. If you have more, great, especially when it comes to sharing with other people that may not be as fortunate, or they're refugees, or perhaps I'm a refugee to a different area. I would really appreciate someone else having not only food for their family, but also food for me. That being said, there's something that I think is very disturbing. Here on the ranch, we have the cows and the hogs, but we're also are expanding, or will be taking on a larger chicken operation, not only laying hens, but also meat birds. And really our goal is to have at least 50% of our meals either produced by us, grown by us, kind of a thing. That's something that my wife and I we're really trying to push for, especially when it comes to meat. There's a couple other truck talk videos I'll do talking about meat, but this is one of a few. And it's one of those things of, there's that what's in your wallet kind of a thing, but what's in your meat? And particularly with chicken, there's a new lab-grown chicken that's going to be rolling out here in the summer of 2023, just in time for barbecues and things of that nature. And it's going to be grown in a lab. Now there's the Beyond Meat, things like that. And it just tastes awful. I've never tried it. I refuse, but from what I've heard, it just tastes awful. But with this, it's going to be lab-grown chicken meat. And there's a few things to consider. One of the things to consider is, well, we should not be worried at all, or our fears should be quelled when you hear that it was approved by the FDA. So comforting, right? Because the FDA has approved a lot of other things in the recent past that was supposedly safe, and but with this, they passed it safe and no questions asked. It just went right through, and it's called good meat, which I think is kind of ironic. It's definitely not great, so they're not admitting that, but they're calling it good meat. And I always find, if only it talked about somewhere in scripture or something where in the last days right would be wrong and wrong would be right, up is down, and left is right, kind of a thing. So with this, it's quite curious, because with this lab grown meat, it comes down to, what are you doing to prepare? What can you do to prepare? Does that mean if you're in a place where you can't raise your own chickens or your own meat, that you're going to have to find a source where you can trust, where that food is coming from? Or do you just can't eat meat at all? Because like in this case, the questions that weren't asked, and they were asked, was, will there be any sort of label? Will people even know? Because they're trying to make it look as much like an actual chicken breast as much as possible. And it's grown from a clump of cells, fed a bunch of hormones, sugars, just a bunch of other gross stuff. And what's even more disturbing is that this meat, that the way it's basically cells that are perpetuating like into perpetuity. It's, in fact, the dirty secret, and what I think is extremely gross. And check this out, is there was a lady, I can't remember the hospital, but back east, there was cancerous cells taken from her in like one of those research hospitals without her permission, and they're using that to replicate the chicken, to grow this chicken. I'm not making this stuff up. In fact, you can't even make this stuff up anymore. It's just actually being done. And I always just have to ask myself, why? Like, do these globalist elites, the money printers, whoever, the uber rich, are they doing this as a joke just to see how much the common man, the unwashed masses, will just come to the trough and lap up the latest thing that they're serving up as part of what should be our approved diet and things of that nature. So yeah, if you don't believe me, you can go check it out yourself. But um, that's one thing that is just it blew my mind when I heard that, and the fact that here on the ranch, I had that feeling, and along with somebody else that I'm really close to not only increase the amount of laying hens we have, but then to jump into the realm of meat birds, broiler chickens, whatever you want to call them, because we just want a good source of protein for our family, and the fact that it's one of those things of, we already grow and raise great beef and great pork, and so we wanted to dive into the realm of chicken. And this is long before I came upon this article. In fact, I saw it in the Epic Times. But it's crazy, folks. You're not going to hear this in the CFR-owned corporate media. It's one of those things of there's a straight-on war against truth and hiding agendas and even propaganda. I don't know if you've heard of the Smith-Mundt Act, but that was passed right during World War II here. It basically, in a nutshell, was propaganda, or what other countries and people in other countries would see about America, disseminated by the United States government and our military, and in the military of the United States government. Well, in 2012, they updated that to basically say that can turn internally propaganda that was once illegal here in the United States, and that goes back to even like World War One. There was that act against propaganda was passed. Well, in 2012, they said, no, we're going to revise the Smith-Mundt Act and basically allow propaganda to be put in, spread and disseminated amongst the citizens of this country by the government and by the military contractors. So something you got to consider, folks, just because you're hearing it on my channel and you're not hearing it anywhere else, or maybe one or two outlets, doesn't make it any less true. It's one of those things of, I do this channel for you, the viewer, not for me, to raise that warning voice, be that clarion call to attention, to wake up, to, hey, look over here, because something that really bothers me about the corporate controlled media is it's all fake. It's all false. I don't care what station it is. There's very few out there that you can actually trust. They're saying, hey, look over here, but then they're doing something behind the scenes while they're trying to divert everybody's attention. There's these 2 to 3 week media cycles, or even a longer 2 to 3 month media cycle, where it's just constant coverage, and then they move on to the next thing. Meanwhile, for the last 120 years, our freedoms and liberties are being stripped, and they're really, especially in the last 100 years, or even in the last 50 years, post World War II, they've really went after our food and our food supply and that and things of that nature. I mean, it's to the point now where we don't even do it for nutrition, the food we eat. It's for the taste and just to satisfy that hunger. So many empty calories, things of that nature. So when I talk about good meat in this lab-grown chicken, these blob of cells, it's literally cancerous cell that they're using to replicate. There's all the other crap that we eat, and I'm just as guilty as the next man when it comes to your ice cream, your Doritos, your fountain drink from the corner gas station there. But we need to start considering, again, going back to what I'm always harping on, is that parallel economy, helping each other out, helping your neighbor out, where, yeah, it's one thing to be able to make a profit, but there's times where it's going to come where, if it isn't already here, and I believe it's already upon us now, to what degree and severity, it's obviously, it could get a lot worse. But we need to be looking out for our neighbors. And so this is part of the reason why I do something like this, is to say, hey, please like, subscribe, share, not for my benefit, but for others, because others need to know that come this summer, they could or could not be doing a huge, push on something like that. They've learned their lessons with the Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger or whatever it is. So with this other meat, they're really going to try and push, and people need to know that just because it's FDA approved or whatever, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be the best for you, because there's a lot of things that have been approved and there's a lot of conflict of interest. It's just like, hey, I'm going to give you 80% of your budget. Can you check to make sure that my product is okay. What do you think's going to happen? It's one of those things of, well, naturally there's not going to be that much resistance or putting up of a fight. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Check it out. It's super crazy. And as I always say, what you ask yourself, what can you do? Buy local. Find that rancher, find that farmer that is offering these products, especially this year of all years. It's all across this country, as far as I can tell, from Nevada, Utah, through the Intermountain West, the northern plains, central plains, southern down to Texas, Missouri. All these places, they're really suffering. The major grain producing, cattle producing, livestock producing, they're getting hammered. And I'm going to talk about that more in some of these other truck talks. Normally I don't have to do all these, but there's so much happening that I kind of took a break over the long winter, but now things are warming up and they're heating up literally and figuratively. And there's a lot of moving pieces, and I want to make sure that you're informed and that you have the information you need to best look out and provide and even protect your family. Because again, there's people that they don't have your best interest at heart, even those in government. Remember, this is the same government that told people like my grandfather, who herded sheep out in the west desert of Utah, that had shadows. The sun was casting shadows from the nuclear testing, the mushroom clouds that they were detonating off in Nevada. And they said, oh, this is absolutely safe. Yet hundreds, even thousands of people died from cancer or suffered effects for their entire life because of that, my grandpa being one of them. So again, your best interest isn't always at heart. Please find the time to really decide what is important to you. Again, I always say you only get so many trips around the sun, and that really takes on a new meaning when you think about everything that's happening, has happened, and will be coming down the pipeline. So find yourself in a quiet spot, contemplate, meditate, pray, listen to those feelings in your heart and your mind about what it is that you need to do to start today, even if it's small and simple. Through small and simple means and measures are great things brought to pass, especially as you turn around and look back from the road you've traveled. So I appreciate you coming along today or tonight. And again, I hope you'll join me and check out all my other Truck Talk videos series. And again, don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so you can get the next installment of the Truck Talk. There's going to be a lot more coming down the road here in the next few days and weeks. So I appreciate you coming along, and until next time, have a good night.